Hello and welcome to K News. This is Hardik Trivedi. Let's have a look what is happening in India and in the world. North Korea leader Kim Jong-un said his country's hard-won nuclear weapons were a solid security guarantee and a reliable, effective deterrent that could prevent a second Korean war, state media reported Tuesday. Kim's comments before war's veterans, making the 67th anniversary of the end of the 1950 Korean War, again show he has not intention of abandoning his weapons as prospects dim for resuming diplomacy with the United States. But some experts say Pyongyang will likely avoid serious talks with Washington before the US presidential election in November, as there is a chance for a US leadership change. Kim said in his speech Monday, his country has tried to become a nuclear state with an absolute might to prevent another war, and that is now built such a deterrent according to the Korean Central News Agency. Now we have changed to a country which can defend itself reliably and unwaveringly against high-intensity pressures and military threats and blackmailing by imperialistic reactionaries and hostile forces, Kim said. There won't any war on this land again, and our national security and future will be guaranteed firmly and permanently because of our reliable, effective, self-defensive nuclear deterrent, Kim said. Kim's speech followed recent remarks by both North Korean and US officials suggesting they were reluctant to engage in a new round of diplomacy on the North's nuclear program anytime soon. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo had said President Donald Trump would only want to engage with Kim if there were real prospects of progress. A Malaysian court pronounced former Prime Minister Najib Razak guilty in his first corruption trial over the multi-billion-dollar looting of the 1MBD investment fund. The ruling came 5 months after a new government took power with Najib's Malay Party, the biggest bloc in the alliance. His party's shocking election ouster in 2018 was driven by public anger over the 1MBD scandal. I find the accused guilty and convict the accused of all 7 charges, Judge Muhammad Nazlan Ghazali said after spending 2 hours to read out his ruling. Najib has promised to appeal. He has said he was misled by rogue bankers and the case against him is political. Analysts said the ruling would bolster the prosecution's case in Najib's other trials. He faces 42 charges in 5 separate trials and could face years in prison. The current trial involved a charge of abuse of power, 3 charges of criminal breach of trust, and 3 money laundering charges. The judge said Najib had failed to raise reasonable doubts and that prosecutors had established beyond reasonable doubt that Najib misappropriated the money for his own use. The Pakistan Army resorted to heavy firing and mortar shelling in forward areas along the LOC in Jammu and Kashmir's Poonch district, prompting Indian troops to retaliate effectively, officials said on Tuesday. The ceasefire was violated by Pakistan for the 8th consecutive day, officials said, adding that there have been more than 20 incidents of ceasefire violation by Pakistan troops in the last more than a week. At about 1000 hours today, Pakistan Army initiated unprovoked ceasefire violation by firing with small arms and intense shelling with mortars along LOC in Dagwar and Kasbah sectors of the district Poonch, a defense spokesperson said. The Indian army is retaliating befittingly, he added. Pakistan troops had shelled forward areas of Mankot and Mendar sectors of Punch district and resorted to firing along the international border in Hiranagar sector of Kathua district on Monday, resulting in injuries to an animal and damage to a house, they said. The government must look at rationalizing levies on the telecom sector and close long-standing legal disputes that are a big drag of the performance of operators in order to ensure industry viability with 3+1 player structure, Bharti Airtel chairman Sunil Mittal has said. Mittal, in his message to shareholders in the company's latest annual report, said while it is clear that the worst may be behind for India's telecom industry, it is yet to emerge from the woods. India still has some of the lowest data tariffs globally, and the industry is barely able to cover the cost of capital. It requires much more support to repair the deep damage to its finances and make it viable for telecom operators to invest in future technologies, Mittal said in the company's annual report, exhorting the government to look into the urgent needs of operators. Mittal said that although the recent tariff increase had provided some cushion, the sector is still way below the levels to make the industry viable. He added, these urgent interventions will ensure that we have a viable industry with 3+1 structure, which is essential for serving the digital aspirations of a billion plus Indians. In this backdrop, telecom and digital technologies have become the bedrock of people's lives, Mittal said, terming telecom as the oxygen for the digital world. Airtel now ranks amongst top 3 mobile service operators globally in terms of subscribers. He said, adding that 2020 marks 25th years of Airtel's journey. Attacking the JMM Congress government in Jharkhand, BJP President JP Nadda on Tuesday said the state has become a byword of lawlessness under its rule, with Naxalism rife and corruption becoming an industry. Addressing state BJP leaders at a digital event to inaugurate party office in 8 districts, he asked them to work democratically to remove the coalition government, which had come to power in December. When I read news of Jharkhand now, reports of Naxalism, daylight kidnapping and murder and robbery are rife. Jharkhand has become a byword of lawlessness. The menace of Naxalism, which was almost over, has become rampant, Nadda said. Corruption has become an industry with rates fixed for transfers, he alleged. Good governance has ended in the state because the government is weak and careless, he charged. The BJP had said has now built its offices in over 500 organizational districts and work is on constructing 400 more offices. In the 2019 assembly polls in the state, the BJP had lost power to the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha alliance. Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra on Tuesday took a veiled dig at the BSP, alleging that the whip issued by it to its MLAs in Rajasthan is a clean cheat to those who murdered democracy and the constitution. The BSP on Sunday issued a whip to 6 MLAs who had left the party to join the Congress last year to vote against the ruling party in the state in case of a trust motion in assembly. Undeclared spokesperson of the BJP have issued a whip in support of the BJP, but it is not a whip but a clean cheat to those who murdered democracy and the constitution, she said in a tweet in Hindi. While the BSP MLAs have claimed that they have joined the Congress of their own will. The BSP has been claiming that since there's a national party, the local unit cannot merge on its own. The Congress government in Rajasthan, led by Ashok Gehlot, is facing a crisis over 19 of its rebel MLAs, including Sachin Pilot, revolted against it. Gehlot is now keen to prove his majority on the floor of the House and is now demanding a session of the Vidhan Sabha. Decisions on timing of elections can only be made by the Election Commission of India, the Commission said today in a hard-hitting statement after media reports, quoting Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor G.C. Murmu, that elections in the Union Territory can be held after the ongoing delimitation exercise. Elections have not been held in Jammu and Kashmir in the 2 years since the elected government collapsed, with the poll body citing security concerns. It would be proper for authorities over other than Election Commission to refrain from making such statements, with virtually tantamount to interfering with the constitutional mandate of the Election Commission. The Commission said, many things have to be taken into account for holding the elections, including topography, weather sensitivities arising out of regional and local festivities, the Commission said. Now the coronavirus outbreak is also another concern, said the agency, which last month announced measures on postal ballots for people above the age of 65 years and withdrew it within days. Assembly elections in Bihar and a string of by-elections are expected in Madhya Pradesh by the end of this year. Jammu and Kashmir has not had an elected government since June 2018, when the BJP ended its ruling alliance with Mehbooba Mufti's People's Democratic Party. There was exception that the state elections will be held along with the national elections in April-May, but the Election Commission had nixed it, citing the security situation. It's time for a short break. We'll join you in a short while.
Vesavi of Tundi fan with the cooler number one. Ek chase ko more fun, unte cooler number one. Ek don't run from the sun, unte Kinsta number one.
पहली नजर हो गया मैं दीवाना 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 इतना सुंदर जैसे कोई सपना सुहाना मैं दीवाना दीवाना
कचारिया टाइल्स, जो देखे वो दीवाना।
Welcome back to K News and thank you for watching. Let's continue the streak of news. On a day Mumbai recorded its highest coronavirus testing figures with almost 9,000 tests. Only around 700 positive cases were reported from these tests. From the 8,776 tests conducted on Monday, around 700 samples were positive, which is the lowest in the last 100 days. The country's financial capital reported 1,033 COVID-19 cases on Monday from the test conducted on Sunday. The doubling rate in the city is 68 days now, and the Mumbai's recovery rate is at 73%. The overall growth rate of coronavirus cases in Mumbai from July 20 to July 26 was 1.303%. On Monday, the entire state of Maharashtra recorded 7,924 cases and 227 deaths. Mumbai reported 1021 cases and 39 deaths. Mumbai has reported 6,132 deaths so far. There are a lot of the total of 1,10,182 cases in Mumbai, and of these only 21,000 are active cases. In comparison, neighboring Thane has 34,000 active cases and Pune has 48,000 active cases. Mumbai, which was the worst affected city in the country in the first 3 months of the pandemic, has now seen some relief, with the number of new cases being reported in the city seemingly plateauing. Rajasthan Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot met his cabinet a day after the governor sent back his request for assembly session from Friday with 3 conditions that include a 21-day notice and a coronavirus plan for the House. We have formulated replies to the governor's concerns. It is our right to call the assembly. How the session will be held is the speaker's prerogative. We want the session on July 31, Rajasthan Minister Harish Chaudhary told after the meeting. The government is asking certain questions. We have replies to that. We are the extraordinary circumstances. Other assembly sessions are being held in the country. The cabinet proposal will be sent to the governor probably today, the minister said. On Monday, Governor Kalraj Mishra wrote to the Chief Minister that he was not against calling an assembly session. The Raj Bhavan gives the go-ahead to call the assembly session, keeping in mind the suggestions made. He wrote, but listed questions that needed to be dealt with first. He asked whether the Chief Minister wanted to bring a trust vote, because if that was the case, in 21-day notice was not needed. Do you want to bring a confidence motion, as it is not mentioned in your proposal? Mr. Mishra asked. What could endanger the Gehlot government's thin lead is the status of 6 BSP MLAs who merged their party with the Congress last year. The BSP yesterday petitioned the court against the merger. It also asked to be made a party to a petition by a BJP MLA. The S&P BSE Sensex rallied over 550 points and Nifty 50 index moved above its psychological level of 11,300, led by gains in auto, information technology, financial services, metal and banking shares. Strong corporate earnings, along with hopes that another flood of US stimulus would cushion the global impact of renewed coronavirus outbreaks, lifted investors' sentiment. The Sensex rose as much as 620 points and Nifty 50 index touched an intraday high of 11,318. The Sensex ended 558 points higher at 38,492 and Nifty 50 index climbed 169 points to close at 11,300. Markets have gained strength on the back of better than expected June quarter earnings and easy liquidity, analysts say. Buying was visible across sectors as all the 19 sector gauges complied by the BSE ended higher, led by auto indexes 3% gain. Banking, IT, metal, financial services and realty indexes also rose over a percentage. Mid and small cap shares were largely in line with their larger peers as the S&P BSE mid cap index rose 0.9% and S&P BSE small cap index advanced 1.3%. Ultratech Cement was top Nifty gainer. The stock closed 7% higher at rupees 4,131 after it reported a net profit of rupees 797 crore in the quarter ended June 30 and said it had emerged stronger and well prepared in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. The first batch of 5 Rafale fighter jets on their way to India were seen being refueled mid-air from a French Air Force tanker, and the pictures taken at 30,000 feet were posted on Twitter by the Indian Embassy in France. Indian Air Force appreciates the support provided by French Air Force for our Rafale journey back home, tweeted Indian Air Force. These 5 jets include 3 single-seater and 2 twin-seater aircraft. The 2-leg flight will involve the Rafales covering a distance of nearly 7,000 kilometers. The 5 fighters landed safely at Al Dharfa after a 7-hour flight from France on Monday evening. The French Air Force refueled the Indian fighters using its Airbus A330 multi-role tanker transport aircraft on their way to Al Dhafra. Aerial refueling support will be provided by the IAF's Russian Illusion 78 refuelers for the second leg of the journey from Al Dhafra to Ambala. The jets are being flown by pilots who have undergone comprehensive training on the aircraft, the IAF said. The Rafales will be a part of IAF's number 17 squadron, which is also known as the Golden Arrows. India ordered 36 Rafale jets from France in a deal worth Rs 59,000 crore in September 2016 as an emergency purchase to plug gaps in the IAF's capability. The delivery of 36 fighters will be completed by the end of next year. AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi has said that the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's possible attendance at foundation stone laying ceremony of the Ayodhya Ram temple will be amount to a violation of the constitutional oath taken when assuming office. Owaisi's comment follow left leaders later to the center disapproving the possible live telecast of the Bhumi Pujan ceremony in Ayodhya on August 5, calling it against the accepted norms of national integrity. The foundation stone laying ceremony of the Ram temple in Ayodhya on August 5 is likely to be broadcast live for the benefit of millions of devotees advised to stay at home and away from Ayodhya on the momentous occasion due to existing COVID-19 restrictions. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to perform prayers in the sanctum sanctorum of the unmarked Ram temple before laying its foundation stone at around 12:15 p.m. on the day. However, an official confirmation of the Prime Minister's program for the day has not been released so far. Attending Bhumi Pujan in official capacity will be a violation of PM of India's constitutional oath. Secularism is part of the basic structure of constitution. We cannot forget that for 400 years Babri stood in Ayodhya and it was demolished by a criminal mob in 1992, Owaisi tweeted on Tuesday. Indian and Chinese frontline troops have completed disengagement at most locations at the border, China said on Tuesday, adding that preparation is on to hold the next round of military level talks to settle the remaining issues. The Chinese Foreign Ministry was seemingly giving an update on the disengagement of border troops following last Friday's 3-hour-long meeting of the Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination on Border Affairs, which had met to review the situation in the border areas and the disengagement process in the western sector of the LAC. Differences between India and China on the disengagement process emerged after New Delhi asked Beijing to sincerely implement the understanding on troop withdrawals reached by senior military commanders of the two sides. On Tuesday, responding to a specific query on whether Indian and Chinese soldiers had completed disengagement at Galwan Valley, Hot Springs and Gogra areas, spokesperson Wang Wenbin said disengagement was completed in most areas. Recently, China and India have conducted intensive communication through military and diplomatic channels. We have held 4 rounds of commander level talks and 3 meetings of WMCC, Wang added. Following last Friday's WMCC meeting, a statement from the External Affairs Ministry had said that the two sides agreed it was necessary for both sides to sincerely implement the understandings reached between senior military commanders in their meetings till date. Union Minister Nitin Gadkari on Tuesday said the government is making efforts to attract FDI in infrastructure sector to address liquidity crunch faced by COVID-19 hit economy. The Road Transport, Highways and MSME Minister also said that talks are on with various pension funds, insurance funds and financial institutions. Infrastructure is the most economically viable industry. The internal rate of return of project is good. We are trying to get FDI in infrastructure as it is 100% allowed. We are trying to bring insurance fund, pension funds, etc. While talks are on with the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, we are moving fast in that direction, Gadkari said, addressing a webinar on road development in India, urging private players to join hands with the government. He said the economy hit by coronavirus is passing through a crucial phase and requires liquidity. At the same, COVID-19 crisis should be turned into an opportunity as the world is now recognizing India as the good place for investment, he said, adding the government has taken a policy decision to offer projects only after 90% land acquisition and regulatory clearances like forest and environment. In infrastructure, we are trying as to how we can get maximum investment. Today, there are huge opportunities in highways, power, transport, water, communication and other sectors, he said, adding industrial development and job creation was not possible without propelling infrastructure. That's all for now. Keep watching K News. This is Hardik Trivedi taking your leave. Be alert, be positive, be safe.